Hey, what's up, guys? John here. We are stepping into what I believe is going to be one of the greatest investing opportunities of our lifetime. It's going to be absolutely unreal. And the reason for this is the chain of events that have unfolded over the last few years. Think about all of the, was $7 trillion in stimulus and artificial funds that were just basically thrown into the U.S. economy at record low interest rates, artificially building out valuations on commercial, residential, industrial real estate, stock portfolios. Everyone was completely leveraged, and there was no end in sight, even for crypto and for NFTs and for all these investment opportunities. People were just piling everything in because it almost felt like you couldn't lose. However, now what's unfolding, I believe, is going to present one of the greatest investing opportunities in our lifetime. If you are very educated or smart or strategic, maybe you have a business or you have a game plan, you're going to do very, very, very well. Here's what's going on. Now, many people, they thought that the Fed was going to stop hiking interest rates in January. I believe they're going to hike again in June, and I think they're probably going to hike again after that as well. I think the hikes are going to be really consistent throughout the rest of potentially the rest of the year. And if we look at what's happened so far with just regional banks and small banks nationwide, they've already stepped under immense pressure. So as high inflation continues, split on strategy among Federal Reserve officials. Fed Logan data does not yet show June pause is appropriate. They don't see a case for June pause, right? Bloomberg. This is what I think is going to happen. They're going to keep hiking and hiking and hiking. As that begins to happen, this is what happens. Mortgage demand continues to fall because the cost to borrow money gets much, much more expensive. And so people, they can't afford to refinance. They can't afford to go out there and buy their home. But as this is unfolding, we're seeing some really, really big changes in the job market. So far in 2023, 197,837 workers in the tech field have already been laid off. Now in 2022, for context, it was 164,000. So in the first, give or take 4.5 months, so basically mid-April, we already hit 2022 numbers. At the current velocity, with interest rates continuing to rise, we'll probably see this number hit closer to 450 to 500,000 jobs by the end of the year. That is a very, very big number. And we have to remember, this is not taking into consideration more interest rate hikes. As the cost of interest rates rise, the cost to service debt for these companies continues to get more expensive. As that begins to happen, consumers have less discretionary income to spend at these companies. So that happens, and then their stock valuations continue to fall. It's going to likely rise even more than this, these layoff numbers. If you look at a company like IBM, for example, they are now, they plan to replace 7,800 jobs with AI. Now, this came out, 2 weeks ago or so. I believe we're going to start seeing more and more companies start to lean into this. And if you're a small business owner, maybe there's a way in which you can lean into it. Now, some people are going to say, John, AI is going to be the problem. Sure. But do you think that people as a whole are not going to start to try to save money and grow and scale their businesses, and they try to hire people in America or hire people in other countries? I don't think many people are going to have the option if their competitors are all using AI and robotics and technology in the future. The only way in which they'll be able to stay competitive, it most likely is going to be, and this isn't something that I want, but most likely this is what's likely going to happen. And as this is unfolding, consumer debt passes $17 trillion for the first time. It was like $17 trillion, $50 billion. This consumer debt was locked in, most of it, locked in at much lower interest rates on adjustable rate loans, such as home equity lines of credit, adjustable mortgages, credit cards, adjustables, auto loans. All of these bills are getting much, much, much more expensive. The cost of service is much, much more expensive. And as that's happening, real wages are falling. So what's going to give? What's ultimately going to happen is we're going to start to see more defaults across the board. That's inevitable. The only way around that would be if they were to, temporarily pause these payments or put more stimulus in the economy, or I don't see any other way. I see massive defaults coming. That's what I think is probably 95% chance going to happen, is more and more and more defaults coming Q3, Q4 of 2023. And also, if you have bad credit and you want to fix your credit to get out of high interest credit card debt at 0% interest, potentially doing a balance transfer, or you want to position yourself to invest in distressed real estate, we'd love to give you a free consultation to fix your credit at greatcreditfast.com. That's greatcreditfast.com, or give us a call at 561-430-5900. Now, how do people usually access money at times of uncertainty? Look in the 2008, 2009 great financial crisis. They would refinance their home if they had the equity, right? But one of the biggest hindrances of being able to do that refi is too much debt, not having stable employment, and not having cash reserves, a lot of which is happening right now with very limited savings rates in America, and one of the lowest savings rates we had in 30 or 35 years. And as that's happening, record high debt, record high mortgage rates, and now we're starting to see these job layoffs. So what I think is going to happen, people are going to start looking for ways in which they can try to hold on to their home if they have no equity. Now remember, 40% of all mortgages in America were taken out between 2020 and 2022 at record high home prices, and the average down payment for a first-time home buyer was 6%. The average down payment for a second home was 13%. So a median down payment of roughly 10%, and the cost to sell a property is about 7%, maybe 8%. 5% were for realtor fees, then transfer taxes, closing costs, escrow. The people had maybe 2-3% in equity in their properties. And that was when mortgage rates were at 3%. Now they're at 7 or 7.5%. So most people are underwater on their properties. So what are they going to do? They're going to rent out their homes, right? We're going to see if they can rent out their homes. Because as this is happening, banks are going to continue to tighten up lending like they're saying here. Banks tighten credit terms. U.S. community banks Q1 2023. Loan growth slows. Banking lending metric is sounding a warning. Wall Street listening. As this is happening, though, these property insurance rates are continuing to rise. They say it's mainly due to inflation, but it's also going to, I think, be heavily involved. If you look at a place like Florida, for example, you have a really big fraud problem, lawsuit problems against insurance companies. You've had a lot of big exposure that insurance companies have taken in Fort Lauderdale and Miami, Fort Myers. You had situations in Texas, the fires in California. You've had all of these situations that have unfolded over the last year or two, all of which are a very, very big loss for these insurance companies. So I believe rates are going to continue to rise, and as these insurance premiums are going up, so are property taxes. So the big question is just how? How do we avoid this? Because I would love to be wrong. If anyone can supply me with information that maybe I'm wrong or I'm missing something, then do so below. I'll pin it as the top comment so everyone can learn something new. But what I'm seeing is household debt is at record highs. Wages are falling. Inflation is going to continue to run more rampant, especially as they push forward more of these green energy policies. So if all energy prices are likely going to be going up over the next few years, and inflation is likely going to continue to rise, and we're record high debt levels with one of the fastest movements towards increasing interest rates we've ever seen. I mean, something's going to break. Something's going to happen here. And who usually wins when things break? Look at the great financial crisis of 2008. It was Blackstone, they founded Invitation Homes. They bought like 85,000, 90,000 single-family houses at record bottom prices. And what they did back then is they did a strategy, and they actually got the nickname the dollar more guys, because what they would do is they would use a discount to replacement value. They'd go to auctions all over the country, and they would use this discount to replacement value strategy. They would say, what's the true value of the land? What would it actually cost me today to build this property brand new? And they add up that land value and that cost. They'd add it up, and let's say the land was $100,000, the cost to build was $200,000. They would say, okay, it's worth $300,000. That's brand new. They'd say, I want a discount to that replacement value. I can save on construction costs and the time, and I can hedge. I can get a motive safety on that. So maybe they would say 40% below that discount to replacement value. So they might run out there and throw a number of 175,000 out there. And if anyone else would come and say 175, they'd say $175,001, and they would just try to beat them by $1 right at that valuation. And they would go there, they'd pay cash, they'd go with the cashier's checks, and they'd have a whole team going nationwide going at these auctions. And so if you have this type of situation where a lot of these banks, a lot of these regional banks, a lot of other institutions are sitting on losses, we could see auctions again, but I personally think that it's going to be more likely that we see larger blocks of properties being transferred and sold to larger institutions. But there's still going to be massive opportunities for smart and savvy investors to run out there and pick up deals and to grow and scale companies, because as is happening, a lot of companies, they're not going to be viable. They're not going to be able to make ends meet and make, the profitable business exist if they have consumers pulling back on spending and the cost of everything is going way, way up. So it could be an opportunity for you to grow and expand your company, maybe, bring on some type of online strategy or a way in which you can help more people and reduce your cost. There's going to be opportunity, whether we want to see it or not. This is what's going to happen. We're in the greatest wealth transfer of all time. Drop your comments below, hit the like button. Call-in show, hopefully it'll be on Monday. I'm really looking forward to it. Supposed to get the last package on Saturday, and we can set up all the equipment. So if that does happen, Monday, we'll have a call-in show. This Friday, so tomorrow, I have a podcast with Pace Morby dropping here. And then I already have 5 more guests confirmed. 5 guests confirmed. So every single Friday, we're going to have a new podcast. Got some really, really big players coming on. One guy just raised a $700 million real estate fund. I have some really, really big names coming, so be sure to subscribe and add me on IG for short form content and content I'm definitely not going to share here. @ThisIsJohnWilliams, so the same handle on Instagram. Catch you guys over there.